we always do a summer Shakespeare. So this year we did The Tempest, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great director, Dexter Rogers came in, and the cast was phenomenal, not just on stage but off stage, bringing in new ideas and having really great concepts, and then also being a live band on stage. Louis Pardo, one of our company members, wrote music for the show, so that was really engaging. It was really, really fantastic, top to bottom. I can go on and on about The Tempest, and the great production team and the cast that we had for that. And then now we wanted to do something where we could do 2 shows in rep, which is kind of hard to figure out what 2 shows work well in rep together, because we wanted to do a rep show. And so we thought, we're really, really good at Shakespeare. Let's do Romeo and Juliet, and what pairs well with that. It has a balcony and sword fights and that kind of stuff. And so we decided to do Cyrano as well. And because we didn't just want to put 2 shows out there that just happen to have balconies and sword fights, because that could become boring. You wouldn't want to see the other show. I already saw my balcony and sword fights in the other show, so why would I go see the second one? So we have adapted Cyrano so that the character of Cyrano is a woman. Cyrano is a fantastic play about love, and there are many scenes that people remember about it, most of which the balcony scene, which is a literary device at this point. But there's so much more that goes into it with the character of Cyrano, about, in the original text, about his insecurity, about having a long nose. And that kind of stuff only really shows up in Act 1 and Act 2, and then it sort of goes by the wayside. We understand that he has an insecurity about his nose, but it doesn't feature very often in the later acts, because there's so much more to Cyrano than just how large his nose is. And so that kind of insecurity, we wanted to bring that, to make it more important, to make it more impactful. And we're always trying as Alchemy to feature more female artists, whether that's directors, designers, actors. And so we wanted to have Cyrano be a woman, and it wasn't just that her nose was the thing that gave her insecurity. It was that her sexuality gave her insecurity, because she was pursuing a woman she wasn't sure could love her back. Not just even wouldn't because of her nose or the way she looks, but couldn't because she was not that way inclined. And so there's that insecurity. And it just kind of raises the stakes a little bit. And then we didn't want to exploit that kind of just gender role for no reason. I didn't want to take the Rostand play and just say switch all the the gender pronouns to her instead of him. To really do the experience justice, she had to be written as a woman. So we decided to adapt the play, and I took that on, and so I've adapted Cyrano to where she is a woman. And the play beats follow all of the original text pretty much all the way through the play, so you're still getting the full story of Cyrano, but the fact that she is a woman colors that entire world. And so it's not an experiment to see what would happen. It's a journey to figure out how the inner workings of this character, who is larger than life and a swordsman and a poet and the pinnacle of love, how our own insecurities can affect us to stop us from getting what we truly deserve. Starting out on the journey as the writer for Cyrano, I started doing a lot of research. Our company members, Tucker and Lauralee, suggested there's an all-female production of Cyrano where it's all the nuns that show up at the end of the play end up recreating and retelling the story during the play. And it was an interesting idea, but we wanted to kind of use that. So I read that play by Glenn Maxwell. He did the adaptation for that. I read the original by Rostand. I watched the film version. I can't remember the author who wrote the film version, but it's a very good production as well. And so I kind of got all those together inside my brain, and then I followed the beats of where the show had to go. We have to have this scene. We have to have this scene because this translates into this next moment. And then I just started writing with the intention of staying as true to the source material as I possibly could. And as you keep going and going and going, I started learning more and more and more that the words that were written in the original text were not serving the purpose of the play. There's a lot of extra stuff in the Rostand text that would end up making our show 3.5 hours long. It's very, very long. It's not getting to the grit of what's going on. And it's still a fantastic play, and I would watch a full 3 hours of it. But we need to make sure that we stick to a good runtime because we're running in a rep. And so I started getting further and further into it, and I realized that I couldn't just recreate what had already been there. I had to write it for myself. So monologues and things like that kind of have the same intention. They're speaking from the same place as far as our heart goes, but the words have changed and the interactions between characters have changed because Cyrano is such a central figure that you can't just pretend that she's not a woman. It's important. And some characters care about that more than other characters do. But it's important that that is always a truth that we have in the play. And so one of the most difficult things was writing in verse because you have to write in the perfect pentameter every single time. And going into that and then saying what I feel is true and then rereading that and realizing, well, the emphasis isn't on the right portions of the verse. And so you have to go back and you have to rewrite it carefully to make sure that the actor who's portraying the words doesn't sound like they have marbles in their mouth just because of what you wrote down. So that was one of the most difficult portions. It was writing in verse and then also getting to the heart of the matter of the scenes. They can be very long-winded as they are in the original text, and they're finding different ways to say the same thing. But we found that it's much more poignant if that actor just takes a breath and says what is in their heart, what is true. And that really, it drives it home to the audience a lot more. And then the other portion of it was just making sure that the comedy stays there. It doesn't end well for almost anybody. It's a tragic comedy, but you have to have that comedy first. Otherwise, we don't fall in love with these characters and then their deaths don't affect us. It needs to be a celebration of the life that they had and that they are now gone from us rather than an immense grieving that they are no longer with us. It should be a celebration of they touched so many lives while they were here. We wanted to have a female director for Cyrano because we need that perspective. And maybe directors all come from a different place and they have similar tools to get something out of an actor or something like that. But at the end of the day, experience matters. Education or studying a subject is valuable beyond comprehension, but there's no replacement for experience. To experience something as a woman is very, very important. And again, representation is so important as well. So we wanted to have a female director to be there to guide this show that has to do with the female experience from top to bottom. Cyrano is the main character in the show. There are very few scenes that she is not in. So you want a character who understands the female experience of whether that's being disregarded by men, being treated as a different class, essentially, because we have not gotten far enough away from that in our own society. So it's important that this show remains that timeless ideal of, because of who you are and what gender you were born into, that you're going to be treated a certain way. And you need a director to understand that so that when she's giving notes and offering perspective, that both the actor and the director can find a common ground and get to the heart of the matter much, much quicker than if a male director was in that moment. And that's not to say that male directors can't do that, but it's so much more important and useful and correct to have a woman in that seat, giving out ways to really broadcast the story. It's very important to us, and again, we want to be more representative of our theater community, and there's no reason why we couldn't have more female directors in our Orange County scene, and we want to encourage that too. We want more female directors. It's tough finding female directors who are available, because if there are female directors, they're in high demand, and I think because they offer that perspective that you just can't get anywhere else. Laura's a fantastic director because she develops a rapport with her actors. She creates a very comfortable working environment, which can be very, very important when you're dealing with a show that pushes gender and sexuality so far to the forefront. We have to be okay with talking about certain ideals and certain things that might be uncomfortable. And she creates a very, very loving work atmosphere. And then she's just very excited about the project, and she jumps in. Again, she, as the writer working with Laura, she's very cooperative and gracious when I have to make cuts and things like that. And all of a sudden now this scene, it reads kind of a different way, and so this blocking doesn't work anymore. And she's just very kind when she's working with me as a writer as well. But as a director for Alchemy, she just has this excitement that, again, is infectious and is really, really enjoyable to watch her work into. She's an actor primarily herself, and so that's always very, very useful when you're a director, because she is always giving the actors motivation and ideas as she is giving blocking. So you can tell that she's put a lot of work into a lot of her blocking, that is not just unmotivated crosses or anything like that. And she gives the actors a lot of opportunities to explore on stage as well. So we're very lucky to have Laura. Madeline is our Cyrano, and she is fantastic. When she was reading at callbacks, it was just wonderful. She has this amazing confidence about her, and at the same time a beautiful vulnerability, so that even when she is driving forward and she knows what she wants and how she's going to get it, you can see when the other characters leave the room that it's not that she's switching gears to now be more thought-provoking or anything like that. It's that the veil is just dropping, and that we're seeing that vulnerable character there that makes you want to root for her. So Madeline is just really, really wonderful, and she's excited to do the project, and so her excitement is infectious for the rest of the cast. She brought in her own sword to rehearsals so that she can just have it on her person and get used to basically having like a tail behind her with this sword. And so she's just so engaging and open to the rest of the actors, and she's a lot of fun to get along with. And as a writer, she is very cooperative and gung-ho about just whatever changes I need to make or how I need to re-say things. I have to call her over at rehearsal sometimes, like, cut that one word and flip this line around, all that kind of stuff. And every single time she's just very, very gracious and allows me to make those cuts and changes, because, before the show goes up, it continues to be a living document. So we're really, really lucky to have Madeline, and I can't wait to see her on stage and in costume and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be really, really wonderful. Having a woman in the lead for Cyrano, the extra themes that come along are sexuality, obviously, and gender at the get-go, but also this very interesting level of hiding yourself. It's even more hiding yourself, because Cyrano is using Christian, who is still played by a man, to woo Roxane, who is still played by a woman. And so it's I feel, a more interesting love triangle. But it's also this interesting concept that Cyrano is using a shell of Christian, not just for his attractiveness, but for his gender. And then that still isn't satisfying Cyrano's needs, because it's not telling her the full story of what Roxane needs to love her, because that's only telling her that, well, he's attractive, so that's good, but he's still not the right gender. And so she's not getting the right answer that she needs. And it's only when you use your own voice to speak your own truth that you're going to get the answers that you need. And that's a big portion of the show. We also explore, Cyrano is the only woman in the military in the show, and so we explore the idea of her not being promoted to the level that she should be. If she's the best swordsman in all of France, and this brave soul, why isn't she higher up in the chain? We still have Captain Carbon who calls the shots. So it's interesting to see that, and there are some people in the show that just disregard her completely because she's a woman. And so we're hoping to find all of those different areas within the show to make everybody multifaceted, that not everybody just disregards her. She has male friends in the show, and she has female friends, and she has female enemies, and she has male enemies. That her gender colors everybody's opinion about her, and it also colors her opinion about everybody else, because she's had to work so hard and she's had to give up a lot of who she is to get into the position that she's in, which is not as high as it should be, but that's where she wants to be. She wishes she could be higher, of course, but she doesn't want to be a member of the court or anything like that. She's a soldier, and she's a poet, and she's a lover, and she knows who she is. And so we explore this idea of her knowing who she is, but deep down, she's not entirely comfortable with who that is. Some of the bravest people we know in our daily lives are very insecure about themselves. They're willing to go to war for a friend, but won't raise a sword for themselves. I want the audience to get out of this adaptation of Cyrano that it is still a trusted and true adaptation of the show, but I want them to also walk away from it understanding more about people that are not like themselves, and so that they can get a perspective on somebody, wanting a love that is not just won't love you back, but can't love you back, and how much that pain can be honest and true, so that people walk away with some, not just sympathy, but empathy for people who are not like themselves, and that your sexuality is not the thing that makes you, but it's so important. It's a part of who we are. It's about who you love or don't love, or how you embrace somebody, or from all ranges, asexual, pansexual, bisexual, throughout the entire show, that these people are represented, and that they're important, and that their stories are just as important. And if we can use a familiar tale of Cyrano to help the audience want to see more of those characters and experience more of those characters, I'd really like that to be a victory for Orange County and theater in general, that we want to see these characters in lead roles. And if that means that we have to tear down some barriers of what previously exists so that we can tell engaging stories that people will still come see, then I think all the better. That we find characters that embody the things that we want to, and then say, I want to see this from a new perspective, and I want to get to know people who are not like myself, and that way we can help people to speak what's on their mind, no matter how terrifying it is. With Stages Theater, this is going to be Alchemy's first time working at Stages, but they've always been very, very kind to us. If we need to ask for props or set pieces or anything like that, John Gah, who is their resident carpenter there, is just fantastic, and Amanda, who's been working with us to get us into space, has been equally fantastic. I've worked there years ago doing Julius Caesar. It was one of the first Shakespeare's I ever did, was at Stages, and now I'm just hooked all the time. And then a couple of other of our company members have worked at Stages before. I've directed a show there in the past, and Stages has always been a great home for any actor or director or designer in Orange County Theater. They're really, really lovely to work with, and so we're happy to be there. People have to go see this production of Cyrano because it is going to be a fantastic play, but even more so that you need to see the show for the performances that these actors are bringing to the table, and what the message is, and how important it is that we bring these characters to the forefront with the added levels that are present there. So see the show because it's Cyrano. It's a great show. See the show because it has a female lead. All the more important. See the show because it's a female lead who is not a straight female. She is a lesbian woman. And Roxane is played as a bisexual woman, and Christian is straight, and so that love triangle is all the more elevated. Support those people that are representing others. The show is still the same show that you've enjoyed before, and it's probably more enjoyable now because of the way that these characters are bringing these ideals to the forefront. See the show because we have a female director. See the show because we have a female stage manager. See the show because it is more representative of our Orange County theater group. We have tons of women in our theater community, and not enough of them get the opportunities that they really need to get. And so at Alchemy, we want to push that even more. So see the show so you can support these women doing very brave things and really speaking their hearts on stage. They're giving a voice to people because representation matters. I think maybe that's the biggest thing, is that representation matters on stage, on film, in public offices, everything. When somebody sees somebody like themselves on stage or any public atmosphere, it matters. It says to them, I can do that too then. I wanted to do that, but I thought there wasn't a place for me in that world. So I think that's probably the most important thing, is that representation matters, and Alchemy wants to keep doing that. Alchemy is on Facebook, and we're on Instagram. We also have our website, so you can always go there, check out when the auditions are coming or new shows. We're going to have tickets up for Romeo and Juliet and Cyrano, obviously, so you can get your tickets there. But follow us on Facebook. We have pictures from the cast, the rehearsals, everything. You can join our mailing list. You can just go on the website and go to our Contact Us and say, I'd like to join the mailing list. You can always go and contact us on the site and volunteer your services, whether you want to be a director, you want to be a designer, you want to be an usher, or you just want to find out ways that you can help support Alchemy. We're always happy to have more people around and join us. So Facebook, Instagram, and the website are the best ways to contact us.